Louisiana, for the first time ever, the second event of the 2003 season introduces a brand new body of water for many of the FLW pros. Hank Parker will visit with three who may have an edge and find out what's working in the Atchafalaya Basin. We'll preview what it will take to win and which pros may pick up a boost in the season standings, starting right now on FLW Outdoors. And welcome to another edition of FLW Outdoors. We're joining you from the second stop on the FLW Tour, Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin.
Our first stop was Lake Okeechobee, 500,000 acres, but Hank, the Atchafalaya Basin is 500,000 and much more. How do these anglers decide where they're going to fish?
This is unlimited. This is ideal tournament waters because there's no limit to where you can go. You're not going to be on top of each other. You're going to be able to go and find your kind of water. I mean, we got tidal water, we've got muddy water, we've got clear water. I don't say clear, we've got stained water. What they call clear water is still stained water. So you got a lot of variation of water and all kind of cover. You got grass, you got stumps, you got cypress trees, everything you can imagine. So there is a lot of things to contend with here at this tournament.
And navigation is going to be a key as well, because the Big O, Lake Okeechobee, was very simple. It's just literally a big circle. We've got cuts, we've got rivers, we've got all different kinds of places these anglers could go and even get lost.
I'll bet you there'll be people in this event that will find fish in practice that will never find them during the tournament. There is so many cuts and canals. I mean, you can get lost easy.
And a long run might be in order for some of these anglers. How far would an angler need to go or really want to go to catch fish?
You know, I thought that would be a big factor because I've heard people talking about running all the way to Venice, which is a 2-hour run from here. But after fishing, I think that a lot of people are going to be able to find their fish closer, and you're going to have to spend some time because a limit's not going to do it for you. A limit won't make the cut. There are going to be lots and lots of limits, so you're going to have to get a bigger grade of fish. So people are going to have to use their time to catch bigger fish, and I don't know that a long run is going to be a factor here.
You talked to 3 anglers in this event with unique perspectives on how they're going to fish it. What did they tell you?
Well, we talked to David Dudley, the $700,000 man. He's sharp as a tack, and he's got a game plan going. We got to talk with Greg Hackney, who is a Louisiana boy, maybe a home field advantage. Then Alton Jones, who is a master at putting a game plan together. So we fish with some great guys, and they're very knowledgeable. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare in this event.
We've got that to look forward to with Hank Parker and those 3 top pros on the FLW Tour. And also Taylor and I will come back next with a preview of this massive and very complex body of water, Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin.
Here's this week's Field and Stream trivia question. Which of the following will largemouth bass eat? Other fish, snakes, frogs, or all of the above? Will the largemouth bass eat? As any good angler knows, it's D, all of the above.
Welcome back to FLW Outdoors. We're joining you from the second stop on the FLW Tour, Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin. And Taylor, when we talk about this body of water, easily the largest our anglers will face all year.
Yeah, for example, these are the satellite maps that anglers use to find their way around. There are really no good topographical maps of this area. They've got to use satellite photography to find their way, and there is so much space to fish here. So that's one of the keys the anglers must remember. As you watch this preview of the basin, keep in mind they use these maps and how hard it is to get around the wonderful and expansive Atchafalaya Basin.
The Atchafalaya Basin doesn't really go on forever. It only seems like it. The basin is the immense natural floodplain of the Atchafalaya River and stretches over 500,000 acres from the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Hardwood swamps, bayous, and lakes make the Atchafalaya Basin an angler's dream, especially those who love shallow, stained water.
It's a really good area. I'm really looking forward to it because it's a shallow water fisherman's paradise. There's lots of cypress trees, a lot of grass vegetation. It's, flipping and spinnerbaiting are going to be the prime techniques, and that's what I love to do. So I'm really looking forward to going down there.
Well, parts of it will look just like Lake Okeechobee, and other parts of it will look kind of like the Mobile Delta or Pascagoula. It's river channels with oxbows and bow channels off the river.
Water levels in the basin dictate where to fish, and anglers like Greg Hackney and Satsuma, Alabama's Jason Kilpatrick, who lives in the Mobile Delta, may have a leg up. Kilpatrick was third at last year's M1, also fished on tidal water.
Well, the Atchafalaya Basin is going to fish basically like two different fisheries. You're going to have the upriver section, which is more like what I'm accustomed to in the Mobile Delta. You're going to have a lot of backwater, cypress bottoms, big round bottom cypresses. People are going to be catching them on jigs and crankbaits. That's more of a woody fishery. On the bottom end, you're going to have a lot of anglers that will make the 40, 45-minute run to Bayou Black. Down there, you'll find more of a marshy area. Guys will be catching them on little small spinner baits, and 10 to 12-pound limits will be pretty common down there. You'll be fishing eelgrass, milfoil, that type of thing. So it'll be completely two different fisheries.
And all over the basin, you'll find long canals dug by oil and gas companies. They're everywhere, they hold fish, and they may hold the key to this tournament. Tidal water competition has become a regular part of the FLW Tour. In 2000, 23-year-old rookie Scott Martin made a long run from Biloxi, Mississippi, and won by fishing Mobile Bay. Tommy Biffle won the next year on the Pascagoula River. And at the 2002 M1 on the Mobile Delta, David Dudley and his pole and chainsaw buzzed into an isolated lake and won a huge paycheck. You'll see more of Dudley's thrilling adventure later in the show. But the tidal water of the Atchafalaya Basin is uniquely Louisiana through and through, rich in crawfish and home to at least 85 varieties of fish. This week, none more sought after than the largemouth bass.
Here's a look at your Banana Boat outdoor conditions. On Wednesday and Thursday, partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies, highs in the upper 60s. On Friday, we have a chance of showers as our temperatures will reach into the 70s. And on Saturday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms. Your UV index looks like this: 4s on Wednesday and Thursday, and by Saturday, we'll drop down to a 2.
Well, the possibilities for this body of water are endless because, in fact, the body of water is endless. And coming up, Hank Parker talks with David Dudley about his plan for attacking the Atchafalaya Basin.
But first, we have what we call our fish tales. These are some great stories we collect from some of the great anglers on the FLW Tour. As you know, anything can happen on the waterways of America. Dean Rojas, a Yamaha pro, has a great one for you right now.
This is just one that's recently just happened. I was fishing a tournament up at Lake of the Ozarks this past fall. And it was on the third day of competition. It was the last day of competition, and it was first thing in the morning, first spot. We went up into this cove, and it's kind of misty, foggy, you know. And we shut down, and we put the troll motor down and started heading towards the docks. You go into a cove, and it's all boathouses. You know, everywhere you go on the lake, it's all boathouses. So I see this guy up there on the deck. You know, he's got a sliding glass door, and he opens the door, and he's looking at us. And all of a sudden, he comes walking out. He's got a cocktail in one hand, cigar in the mouth. So this guy's walking down the deck, you know, and I'm looking at him, and I'm kind of casting, and he's holding this thing on his hand. It looks like a floor jack, like you would, you know, jack up your car with. He lays this thing down, you know, and it's still real hazy and foggy, and it's kind of eerie looking, you know. And all I see is the smoke from his cigar coming out of his mouth, you know, and I'm looking at it. I go, and he starts fiddling with the thing, you know. He's on his knees, he's fiddling with it. All of a sudden, he jumps to his feet and he goes, "Fire in the hole!" And all of a sudden, this big flash of light, boom, man. As soon as the blast went off, man, I ducked, and what it was a little cannon with a shaft of about 12 inches long, had the wheels and the whole thing. Fires this thing off at 6:30 in the morning. I mean, we got houses, I mean, all lined up around here, and it probably scared every deer within 10 miles of this place, you know. It was crazy. And the guy is up there laughing, going, "Oh man, I love it. I love it, man." I mean, and he's carrying it, and he carries his cocktail and smoking his cigar, walks right back into the deck of into the house again. Left the cannon sitting right there on the walkway there, I guess to fear off anybody else that was going to come by that morning. But needless to say, our day set off with a big boom.
FLW Outdoors is brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices, always. By Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time.
Hey, we are fishing the Atchafalaya Basin out of Morgan City, Louisiana, and this is going to be a challenging event. We got some great water, beautiful water, all kinds of water, deep, shallow, current, tidal, and everything in between. And we're going to be fishing with 3 anglers today, and we're going to learn a little bit about how they're discerning this water and what they're doing. We're starting off with the $700,000 man, David Dudley. And David, what are we going to do to catch some fish out of the Atchafalaya Basin? Or really, it's a lot more water than just the Atchafalaya Basin. I mean, we got millions of acres of water, so what are we going to do to figure out how to catch a bass fish?
Well, we're going to start exploring in some areas that I've found on the map. We're going to go in and check out and try to find out what kind of mood they're in. Are they in a spawn? Are they in pre-spawn? Are they still hanging out into kind of the deeper water? We're just going to kind of go in. We know the weather's going to be cloudy and it's going to start warming up, so I'm just kind of going in and I'm going to try to find out what mood they're in the area that I've selected to fish. Fishing is one big, huge puzzle. You know as well as I do. You got so many factors. There's not another. You know, there's so much behind one bite. If you were to get a bite there, you should be able to tell me, you should be able to write me a one-page report on that bite. And then you take, I don't know.
You're betting a lot on a lot of theories that you have, that you've developed, whether that's your own personal confidence level or whether that's just the way you evaluate this water. You're betting everything in this tournament, and this could be the one event that makes you or breaks you for the year as far as the Jacobs Cup's concerned. So you're betting it all based on what you believe about this body of water. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, fishing is definitely a confident sport. I believe in what I'm saying. I've experienced a lot of it. It may not pan out like I want it to be. Then I'm gonna have to be versatile enough and have confidence to switch up and do something else. But based on what...
Realistically, with the situation like you got here, you don't have a whole lot of time. You know this lake is going to produce. There's going to be a lot of fish caught. And if you make the wrong bet the first day of this event and you don't catch fish, realistically, it's going to be very difficult to come back and make the cut.
Yeah,
especially if you bomb.
Right. There's too many good anglers on the circuit for you to slip up. There's no room for slip up in this, and you've got to be able to trust your instinct. You've got to be able to trust your decisions. If you have confidence in what you're doing, confidence know that you can get some bites, your fishing ability is going to rise to another level, and you're going to fish. You're going to fish like you need to fish.
You think these fish are somewhat smarter and more educated than the fish on the outer banks of North Carolina, the stripers that are out in the surf?
You ain't kidding. Them saltwater fish, they're dumber than a box of rocks.
Well, now you fish for saltwater fish all the time. You make a living as a boat captain, do you not?
Yep, I sure do. I love saltwater fishing. Bass fishing is a very challenging sport. Very, very challenging. But saltwater fishing, you're dealing with thousands upon thousands of fish that most of them have never even seen a lure. They're not pressured as much as these are, and they're always willing to bite. And if one species in the ocean doesn't want to bite, you always have another one to go to.
Do you feel like that hurts you or helps you as a bass fisherman, the fact that you fish for so many different species in saltwater?
You don't want me to answer that truthfully.
Seriously, does it help you or does it hurt you?
Well, it keeps my interest in fishing up, because if I was to fish for bass fishing day in, day out, I would get burnt out in less than a year. We've been fishing 2 hours this morning, and we've yet to have a bite. Saltwater fish.
Don't you think this in itself is a real challenge? It makes it fun not to catch fish, to be able. The puzzle is more difficult. It's kind of like a kid, you know. When you get a puzzle that's got 10 pieces, it's pretty easy to figure out how to put that puzzle together. But you get a puzzle that's got 10,000 pieces, it's really difficult to put that puzzle together. But it makes it more challenging, and then it's more rewarding when you get it put together.
My theory is don't make a mountain out of a molehill. If I got a molehill and saltwater fishing, that's what I want.
You can keep putting that little puzzle together day in and day out and be happy.
That's right.
I got you.
Welcome back to FLW Outdoors. Here at the second stop on the FLW Tour, Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin, some of our anglers may have an opportunity to face some tidal water situations.
Well, it's really all tidal water, but of course, the further south you go, the more the tides become involved, and that's one of the key questions. Do you run toward tidal water? And it's a big factor in how these anglers approach this event.
And for those who choose to, we've got a tip from South Carolina pro Ricky Shumpert, who talks about the necessity of timing the currents.
I like relating the current, and in a tidal situation, you have current going both ways, so it really makes it tough to understand which way you need to be fishing sometimes. Just take, for instance, this section of bank. This could be the best section of bank on this entire fishery, this entire system. But if you're here at the wrong time, when the tide is doing the wrong thing, you're not going to get bit. Fish aren't going to relate to it. They're not going to feed. This could be a particular bank that they move to when the tide's coming in, and only when it's coming in. Only when it's coming in right before it tops at high tide, or only when it's going out right before it gets to low tide. And not only do you have to find a good location, you have to find a good location that relates to the tidal water.
Well, anglers choose where they go, and where they fish, of course, impacts how much the high and low tide will affect what they do. It's a choice David Dudley had last year at the M1 when he fished the Mobile Delta and won big money.
In fact, Dudley chose to go 90 minutes upstream. He found a backwater area, and then he reached for the secret weapon in his tackle box. It was a Poland chainsaw. And what happened next was bass fishing history. Dudley found a promising backwater area while practice fishing, a place he never fished during the tournament until the last day, saving it for his all-or-nothing gamble. As you can see, the area wasn't easily accessible, and after a 90-minute run from launch, that left David with just 3 hours of fishing time.
Holy wild thing! Wow! I ain't counting my chickens before we hatch, but I think we're in.
But the gamble paid off. He was soon catching fish. And even when things didn't go as planned, Dudley wasn't fazed.
Win some, you lose some. You know what? I lost some. That was a 3.5 pounder right there. Oh my God. Holy cow. Holy cow. Come on, boy. Yeah, don't be. Yes. Oh. Thank you, Pool. Thank you, Pool. Thank you, Lord. That right there, I came right out on the end of that log. I pitched it up there shallow. When I came out on the end of that log, I let it fall on the side of a limb. And when I did, I mean, I just saw my line just tick. And anytime you're fishing, never sit there and second guess yourself. If you ever think you have a bite, set the hook in. Just like I did with that one, it paid off with a 4-pounder. Hopefully we can get some more. That's a good one.
Dudley caught a few more. He culled twice, and you can only imagine what that ride back to the weigh-in tent was like, knowing that your live well may hold $700,000.
We need at least a 2-pound, 5-ounce fish for the championship of the M1.
Right,
he's calling for the crowd.
Hey. 4 pounds, 3 ounces, our champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, your world record holder, a $700,000 payday, the largest ever in the history of bass fishing. David Dudley. How does that feel?
Very good.
$700,000. That put David Dudley in the record books.
And that was fun to watch, too. We were there. Coming up on FLW Outdoors, Hank Parker talks to Greg Hackney. He's one of the few Louisiana anglers who are in this event.
FLW Outdoors is brought to you by Pedigree, healthy, happy dog for life. By Energizer, batteries and flashlights, the power to keep going and going. And by Fujifilm. Do you speak Fuji?
Hey, welcome back. We're here with Greg Hackney. Got our map out. You're going to show us all the hot spots?
Gonna try, Pete.
All right, let's go. Show me where we're going.
Right now, we're going to the Willow Tree Canal, which is the first dead-end canal as we come into the bottom end of Lake Verret. Everything has some current in it. It's where the colder water is. Now, in the summertime or later on after the fish spawn, there'll be more so in this water. One reason the fishing's so good here in the summertime because everything has some flow to it. But I'm looking for dead-end stuff. These fish are going in these dead-end canals to spawn or get ready to spawn. And they would be spawning now. It's just a little cool.
So is this a canal that's been man-dug?
Right. These are oil field canals. You know, there'll be oil derricks in the back of some of them, and then some of them are just used like they have a pipeline. They're actual oil pipeline.
I got you.
This whole country, you know, it's a big oil business in this part of the country, and so all the major oil companies, they have their own canals.
So this is a man-dug canal with no current, and you're looking for spawning bass.
Looking for fish, either pre-spawn or spawn fish. Both are using the same canals. And these fish will start moving in these places well before this time of the year. I mean, like 2 months ago they started. As soon as the weather started cooling off, they winter in these places and spawn in them also.
They winter in them just to get out of the current because they're lethargic and the cooler water. They don't like to fight that current.
Right, and all these canals are protected from the wind, and they get the direct sunlight, and the water's just always a couple degrees warmer in these places than it is in the main body of water where the water's moving.
All right, so you got a real strong north wind that's blowing a lot of the water out. Do you still think the man-made canals are going to be the ticket with no water?
For me, I think they will be.
Okay.
Because a lot of these canals will have 5 to 7 feet of water in them. And it seems to be now the best ones are the one, if you go in one that's got at least 5 feet of water in it, it's a guaranteed. Or if you go in one that's got less, you have to fish and see. Some of the shallow water canals I'm catching a few fish out of, but the majority of them I can about pull in one now, and if it's got 5 to 7 feet of water in it, it's got some fish in it.
Okay.
And some of the bait, they seem to be really on crawfish right now more than shad, but some of these canals are full of shad, but I can't catch them feeding on the shad. I catch them feeding on crawfish, and of course this area is one of the biggest crawfish producers for food.
Well, these are Louisiana bass. They love crawfish.
They love crawfish. These fish are really aggressive. I mean, you can't tell it right now, but I'm telling you, they have really, if it water warms up just about 5 degrees, in which you could do that in a day's time.
Why is that? Why are these fish so aggressive?
I think one reason because the water's so low, and it's got so many of them competing for the food, but not just the bass, the shoe pick or grinnell, mudfish, whatever you want to call them, they're also in these same, everything's pulled together. The whole food chain is in these canals. So right now, everything's having to compete for the food. And all fish in Louisiana eat crawfish, so everybody's...
Look at that, boy.
Well, that's not really the right brand, but it's a bass.
Man, that's what they look like down here, huh?
Yeah, kind of small, aren't they?
Yeah. I like that, though.
This is going to be a bite doesn't mean that much because everything here bites. You know, you might shake off a grinnell if you shake off everything. So what I do is I go in and check a fish or two. You know, I try to get the bites and see what type of stuff they're on and see what it takes to get a bite, but I'm not putting a hook into them.
All right, when you do that, you've been fishing for 5 days. Do you, are all your areas close enough that you can run one area to another, or you got them so spread out you're gonna have to make a decision on one way or another?
What I try to do is I go in an area and try to take it apart, fish everything in that area. So that way if I find it, I can put 2 or 3 places together in there. What I'm doing right now is I'm looking for a place away from the crowd. The area I've been fishing is getting lots of pressure right now. And so I'm looking for something, you know, that's a similar type of fishing and away from where most of the people are fishing at. And right now I'm probably an hour boat ride from the takeoff.
You exaggerate a lot. It's 5.5 billion acres.
I got some, you know, some really good areas close. I don't, you know, I try to stay away. I go in and practice an area and I do not go back and check it. Because if that time I go back and check it, they don't bite, then I've killed my confidence in the area that I've caught fish out of. So I don't go back. I just keep practicing and looking for something better. I'm just always looking for something better.
What happens if you go in there and there's 15 boats the first day? Are you going to abandon that, or are you going to roll up your sleeves and fish with them?
Well, it just depends. I will just kind of have to feel that out as it goes along. I watch how they're fishing. Am I fishing different from the way they're fishing? I don't mind to fish behind anybody because nobody fishes exactly the same. Even if two guys go down the bank and one of them's fishing a jig and the guy behind him's fishing a jig, a worm, or whatever, the guy is still going to move his bait a little different and show the fish something you know, something a little different for them to key off of. I don't like to fish behind myself, but I don't mind fishing behind somebody else.
It's pretty fascinating to me that, and I can tell just watching you figured it out. I hadn't fished long enough to figure it out, but I'm watching you, and your confidence is in the fact that they're in there real shallow. They're not on the outside of the structure. There's a better fish. That's what you're looking for, isn't it?
Yep, that's a little better fish there.
Yeah, had me a bite. We got a school going. That fish was super shallow. Super shallow. I see you smile. You like that super shallow.
Well, right. I got a better chance of putting my bait behind him if he's in 2 foot of water over 10.
Tell us kind of what you're doing with the bait and what kind of bait you're using.
Well, this is a 1/2 ounce rattleback jig, and I've got a Wave Industry crawdad on the back, in which I also flip this by itself when they don't want the jig. And in this colored water, anything with a little copper or some orange to it seems to be, and I've eaten a lot of these crawfish, so I know what they look like, and a lot of these crawfish, you know, have some either black and orange, and so my jig is black, brown, and amber, and I'm going to more of a black jig in the dirty water, but this is a little clear water we're fishing.
Any kind of special presentation? You flip it in there, letting it fall slow by keeping a tight line, you're letting it fall on a dead line?
I like for my jig to free fall with slack in the line. I try to get off of it when it hits the water. I try to pitch kind of, say, over what I'm going to be fishing, so I've got that slack because I want it to free fall. And that way I can also watch the line. And like the last fish I caught was really active. I go by, like sometimes they'll catch the bait falling, but you don't know it. When you pick up, it's just spongy, he's on it. And they're active, but they're not that active. And of course, that fish knocks slack in the line. And when I say that, the line, you just see the line jump back at you. And that means he really wanted it when he got it.
Well, I got a feeling just watching you and watching how you're reading the water and your confidence level and your presentation of your bait for this particular water, I got a feeling that when this thing's all said and done and the fat lady sings, you may be up there with that big check.
FLW Outdoors is brought to you by... Welcome back to FLW Outdoors, everybody. You know, Taylor, each year on the FLW Tour, there are a number of new anglers who hope to hit the same kinds of heights as a David Dudley or a Greg Hackney.
If an angler fishes well in the EverStart series, he can move up to the FLW Tour, and every year anglers do that. We're going to follow 2 FLW rookies this year, guys who fished well in EverStarts who are now in their rookie season on the FLW Tour. And they come from very different backgrounds. I think you'll enjoy meeting them.
Ever since he was a boy, and that wasn't so long ago, Benton, Arkansas's Jeremiah Kindy dreamed of competing at bass fishing's highest level. 2 years ago, he made it his sole focus. Now at age 25, his dream is coming true. A 4th place finish in last year's EverStart Central qualifies Kindy for the FLW Tour and the big leagues of pro fishing.
5 just like that'll do it.
For Maryville, Tennessee's Vince Engel, the road to the FLW has been longer and different. 26 years longer and oh so different.
See how that feels. Does that feel better to you?
Engel comes to pro fishing from a long and successful career as a dentist. But like Kindy, he's got a real knack for catching fish. And when he placed third in the EverStart Eastern, he qualified for the FLW Tour. The doctor plans to keep practicing and compete as a 51-year-old rookie. So Jeremiah Kindy and Vince Engel approach their FLW rookie seasons from vastly different perspectives. Kindy hoping it's the next step to fishing stardom.
I can't wait. I've been dreaming about it for the past 2 years, just about every night, so I'm ready.
And Engel as an unexpected bonus to an already full life.
Here's a little bite.
And the kind of pleasure best savored by one accustomed to hard work.
Boy, sure is nice to be fishing this morning. I fished 10 days in a row, and it's feeling as good today as it did on day one. Love it.
Now, Kindy's pure love for fishing is no less intense, but his passion comes tempered by reality.
I got married last year in July. The best move I made, I think. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her talking me into it. Every time I start doubting myself, she just kicks me in the rump and says, get back out there. So.
And it's ironic that the middle-aged Engel approaches fishing with such youthful exuberance.
Come on, baby, bite that thing again, and I'll extract a tooth on you.
While Kindy, only a few years removed from high school, can't really afford that luxury.
She's in nursing school right now. She's got 1 more year. And that's why it was so hard for me to decide to go ahead and go out and do it this year, because the money's really hard right now because she is in nursing school and she can't work. But it's all gonna work out. It always does.
And fishing is such a great sport. It's, you know, it's food for the soul for me. It just absolutely is wonderful. It relaxes me when I'm out of this office. I come back to this office and I'm a new person. I'm fresh and dentistry is easy.
As much as their backgrounds differ, Engel and Kindy come to their rookie season with similar stellar fishing credentials. Both qualified for the EverStart Championship and both made the semifinals, Engel ending up 6th. But can they duplicate that success on the demanding FLW Tour, which year after year draws the best anglers in the world?
I think I'm gonna do good. You know, I've top 10 the last 6 out of 7 EverStarts. And you know, EverStarts are no pushovers. Those are no babies. You got some tremendous fishermen in the EverStart. And I know how it's done. I may be a rookie, but I'm not really a rookie.
I really feel like what I'm expecting to do is to go out, have some good finishes, make the championship, pay for my entries next year, and go at it again. Just work from that and go at it. Oh, it's tough.
Well, these guys stepped up. They felt the pressure for the first time. How'd they do in their first event?
Well, keep in mind that Jeremiah and Vince were consistently in the top 10 in EverStart events. But at Okeechobee, Jeremiah finished 173rd, Vince was 149th. Welcome to the big league.
Well, when we come back, Hank Parker hits the water with Yamaha Pro Alton Jones.
I think this place may work, Hank.
See here, this is the difference between a tournament fisherman and a TV fisherman. TV fishermen take all kind of time. Come on, baby, jump for me, jump for me.
Now I'm gonna make you check your hooks off if you catch another one like that.
I won't do it, I promise I won't. How confident are you? You've been here a day and a half now. You've had about 15 bites. How confident are you in getting a limit?
I'm real confident that I can get a limit. You know, I'm not finding, you know, canals that are just loaded with fish where you know, catch 20 fish going down one canal. But what I'm finding is really a pattern, and that fish you just caught kind of confirms it for me. Is we're fishing a lot of bank and we're not getting much, but when we're within 50 yards of that intersection back there, you caught one. And that's what I'm going to be really running, is staying in these dead ends. But anytime there's a little natural drain that runs into them, I'm going to stay kind of close to those.
The Wheeler deal last year, you led that thing for 3 days, and it was, I mean, it looked as if you had it in hand. What does that do to your confidence when you have a tournament? You almost feel like with the lead you had is you culled down and eliminated the days and started back over it. I mean, it just looked like you were in complete control and it was yours, and then to lose it. Does that affect your confidence?
It doesn't affect my confidence, it affects my checkbook. You know, more than anything else. There it is, a good one. That's a better one. There he is. It's a big one, it's a bass, it's a good fish, 5-pounder. Oh yeah, thank you, baby. I knew this was the kind that was here. Maybe it's a 4-pounder, but I'll take it, maybe. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh, thank you, Lord Jesus. Whew. Sometimes patience pays off. You just gotta stick with your game plan when you know there's big ones around. You know, 2 more bites like this, and it'll be over. I don't know if I'll get them or not, but I'm gonna try my best.
Do you feel like, did you second guess that particular event at all? What you could have done differently the last day to? Happens, and then Larry comes and does the wrap-up, so you know exactly how a guy evaluated, how he caught the fish, and a wrap. So we see what you're working on. I'm interested, and I'm going to go back and watch the show after the tournament is over and see if you adapt and change and what these fish do in the next couple of days as it warms up.
Yeah, you know, it's such a non-exact science. If anybody could ever really nail that down and figure it out, they'd win every tournament and be a multimillionaire overnight. But so much of what we do is just by the seat of our pants, and it's an instinct and it's a gut feeling, and well, I think I ought to try this.
Well, I think you got a great feel for it, and it's going to be interesting to see how it wraps up. But we fished with 3 guys, and we've looked at 3 different, everybody fishing the same ideas and the same patterns, but doing it all just a little bit different. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how this thing shakes out.
Sure will.
Welcome back to FLW Outdoors. We're joining you from the second stop on the FLW Tour, Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin. Let's now take a look ahead at the schedule for our FLW pros.
In March, we head north a bit to Lake Murray, South Carolina. In April, back to Arkansas, the annual stop at Beaver Lake. In May, the very, very fishy Kentucky Lake. In June, Alabama's Lake Wheeler in Carlton. September, the Jacobs Cup on the James River in Richmond, Virginia. That'll be a huge event.
$500,000 on the line, $1.5 million up for grabs total in that tournament. Each of our anglers have that date circled. They want to qualify for the Jacobs Cup in September. Now, the FLW Outdoors family has been very busy. The first ever Start Western Division took place Brett Height out of Phoenix, Arizona won the first ever Western Division event with 13 pounds and 12 ounces on the final day. He wins over $50,000 in cash and prizes.
In the Everstart Central on Sam Rayburn, the winner was Alfred Williams of Jackson, Mississippi. His catch 19-13. He won by more than 6 pounds. Cash and prizes there total almost $62,000.
And take a look at co-angler Jerry Wheeler out of Batesville, Arkansas, and his monster catch. 12 pounds, 11 ounces, the largest fish ever recorded in an FLW Outdoors event.
From the BFL Louisiana Division and not far from here at Bayou Black, Anthony Kaiser of Houma, Louisiana won his total weight 19-2.
In the BFL Gator Division, right back at Lake Okeechobee, Bill Rucker out of Cocoa, Florida, won with a catch of 25 pounds and 1 ounce.
BFL Gulf Coast Division on the Tensas River, Randy Spites was the winner. His total weight 14-6.
And don't forget, you can get all the information you need on the FLW Tour, the Everstart Series, the BFL, the Texas Tournament Trail, and the RCL anytime you want on FLWOutdoors.com.
And we like it when the viewer gets involved in asking our pro questions. This week's Ask a Pro question comes from Arthur Prescott in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and it's for Ranger Pro Rob Kilby. His question: I hear pros talk about using trailer hooks on their spinnerbaits and that they catch the majority of their bass with that extra hook. How do you rig your trailer hook, and when should I use one? Here's Rob Kilby with the answer.
Arthur, you're correct. There's a lot of pros using trailer hooks and always have. It's not really new, it's getting some press now more than it has. You notice with a trailer hook, where it differs from a regular hook, the eye is a lot larger than a regular hook. That's so it can go over the barb. When you rig it, slide it on and over so it's up, just like the hook on the spinnerbait. And then you want to put a keeper on. And you can buy these or you can make them. I make them out of pop bottles. And cut little squares out of it, stick the point of the hook through, pull it down past the barb, and it locks the hook on so it can't jump off. And if you'll try that, it'll definitely help you catch more fish.
Welcome back to Morgan City, Louisiana and the Atchafalaya Basin. Hank Parker is back with us for our fearless picks now. Anglers we think have a shot at winning this event. Start with you, Carlton.
I'm going with Greg Hackney. He's a Louisiana guy, but it's not like he lives down here. He's from northern Louisiana, so he's got a little bit of a home field advantage, but not so much that it actually could hurt him, because sometimes that does hurt the anglers. They know a lake too well, and they don't really hit the patterns just right. He's one of the top young up-and-comers on the FLW Tour. Finished 12th at Lake Okeechobee on the last tournament. I think he's a good one. That's my pick.
Greg Hackney's an up-and-comer. Rick Clunn has been around forever. He has fished this area more than anyone else. And he has not fished well lately, but he said recently, I'm either going to fish poorly, I'm going to fish well. He's overdue to fish well. I say watch for Rick Clunn in this event, Hank.
I think Scott Martin. I look at Scott in the Everstart tournament at Okeechobee. He finished 11th, one place out of the money, just missed the cut, or not out of the money, but the cut. And then he finished 11th again in the FLW, missed the cut by one spot. So you know he's got blood in his eyes. He's got a lot of his dad in him. He's just up and coming, he's charging. And I think some of the patterns that worked at Okeechobee are going to work here. I think the cold front coming in, I think these fish may mat up, and the flipping technique, which he's a master at, I think that may come into play. So I think Scott Martin's the man.
Scott Martin, Rick Clunn, Greg Hackney, or any of the other 172 pros in this event. We will find out who our winner is next week on FLW Outdoors. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Say hi. Say, hey, how you doing?